Morning. Three things today. We are talking about first things first. Jerome Powell is set to speak today. What is he going to say? Well, I think we're definitely watching for tone among interest rates and inflation. We all know that the U.S. Fed has a target for 2% inflation. And ideally, the balance is always the growth without having too much low interest rates and without having too much of a high inflation. So we've talked about U.S. 10-year yields on this show before. I'm going to talk about it again. The yields are right around 1.45 right now. That's a big jump in 2021. Yields went from 1% to 1.45. Why does that matter? Well, when the yields come around 1.5 or so, that is the yield of the S&P 500. When the 10-year treasury kind of passes that becomes a catalyst for selling stocks and moving money to bonds. When you sell stocks, what happens? The price goes down, which is what we've seen here in the last couple of weeks in the market. So Jerome Powell going to speak about that today. I expect he'll dance around the question and won't talk too much, but we'll keep an eye on it and we'll report tomorrow along with those GDP numbers. Next, we're talking Twitter. So Twitter, this is kind of a neat story. Twitter's set to launch a Canadian hub. They're going to hire about 24 workers, engineers, developers, et cetera. It's going to be a hub right in Toronto. The idea is always said, Jack Dorsey's always said, Twitter should be a decentralized company, and the center of gravity shouldn't be in San Francisco, putting his money where his mouth is instead of bringing these developers and these engineers into San Francisco. A lot of Canadians are now working for Twitter. Instead, we're going to start a hub in Toronto. So good news. There's no brain drain happening there with those. Finally, let's take a look at some stocks making headlines today. Walt Disney, they plan to close 60 of their bricks and mortar Disney store locations by the end of the year. They're focusing, their shift is a clear shift to e-commerce. If we take a look at the stock, it's down about 0.2%. The stock has done well over the last couple of years, even considering that their theme parks are not even open. So Disney, not a stranger to taking advantage of what lies in front of them, and what lies in front of them is e-commerce and streaming. The other stock that's making news is Amazon. So Amazon's in negotiation for exclusive rights to put the NFL games, billion-dollar deal potentially, the Thursday NFL games on their Prime Video service. This to me is big news because we're no longer talking about, large cable networks having access to these, what used to be exclusive rights to NFL. Now we're going to talk about streaming. So that's significantly different and might be the future for sports. All right, let's take a look at those pre-market numbers here. The Canadian dollar is down 20 basis points, trading at 79.22. The Dow futures down a little bit, 35 points, or up a little bit, I should say, to 31,275. They're going to open relatively flat. If we take a look at gold is up $5 to $17.15, and oil continues its rapid ascent, up 52 cents to $61.80.